Welcome back guys, a new GPU driver update is now available for Rog Ally. It's the official GPU driver version 32.0.13031.9000. It adds support for AMD AFMF version 2.1 frame generation technique. It's a driver level implementation of frame generation. According to AMD, AFMF version 2.1 produces less ghosting than AFMF version 2. In this video I'll be showing you how to update to this latest GPU driver on Rog Ally. We'll also test a few games. The new GPU driver can be downloaded from my asus application. Currently, my Ally is running on the official GPU driver, one version older than the latest version. You can see the current version here. So if you are using this official GPU driver on your Rog Ally, you can directly update to the latest GPU driver via my asus application. But if you have installed AMD's GPU driver on your Rog Ally, you need to uninstall it using DDU. Then you can install the latest official GPU driver. In my asus application, there are some other updates available as well. AMD chipset and the fingerprint driver update. I haven't checked the BIOS update. Currently running on BIOS version 3.1. Don't want to update it to version 3.2. No reason to do that. So I'll install these updates on my Ally. Select them and then click on update selected items. Make sure Ally is connected to the internet. Wait for the process to complete. This will take a few minutes. While installing the GPU driver, display will flicker occasionally like this. Screen will go black, but it should go back to normal after a few seconds, so do not worry. Normal process complete. Now we just need to restart our PC. Click on restart here. The driver update was successful. I'll just open AMD's Adrenaline software. Right click anywhere on the desktop, select the option AMD software. And there it is. This is the current version 24.30.31.09, released on 24th March 2025. Now I'll show you how to set up Adrenaline's overlay. Only Adrenaline's overlay can show the true FPS count with the AFMF enabled. Just click on the settings cog here, then click on preferences here. You need to enable this setting in-game overlay, already enabled in my case. Now click on performance here. Click on overlay, enable this setting, enable matrix overlay. Waiting for Adrenaline's overlay to pop up. There it is. This can take a few seconds. Okay, this part of the display is not working properly. Adrenaline software, just close it or drag it like this, expand it again. Yeah, it's working properly now. You can change the size of the overlay using this slider, size percentage. See, 200%. I'll stick with 140. Entirely up to you. Now I'll be adding some metrics to the overlay. Just click on tracking here. From here we can enable or disable the overlays metrics. First we have FPS section. Just click on the eye next to it. Red color means the metric is enabled. If you click on the eye icon again, it will turn into grey color. This means the metric is disabled. Expand the FPS section. From here I have enabled frame rate. Average frame time, I'll disable it. It's up to you. Frame type disabled. 99th FPS value enabled. Micro stutter rate disabled. Heavy stutter rate off. Graphics API enabled. AFMF 2.1 supports APIs like DirectX 11, 12, Vulkan and OpenGL. Latency on, very important. Frame generation lag value. GPU on, its utilization. GPU clock speed on as well. GPU power consumption on, it's basically the APU power consumption for Rog Ally. GPU temperature on, GPU voltage off, GPU memory on, expanded. Memory utilization enabled. Memory clock speed setting off, CPU on, system memory on. That's it. Now if you are using the overlay for the first time, you will be required to provide UAC permission, and just hide the overlay for the time being. In order to access this UAC prompt, just click on the bell icon here. In this section you will find this prompt, Adrenaline asking for your permission. So just provide the permission and then Adrenaline overlay should be working for you. Now there are a few things that you need to know about AFMF before using it. AMD recommends a minimum of 60 as the base FPS to keep the latency and graphical artifacts in check. Realistically speaking, it's a bit difficult for Rog Ally to maintain a steady 60 FPS in newly released AAA games, but you can still get a good experience with a base FPS range of 40 to 45. No significant graphical artifacts are produced and the latency is manageable, especially if you're playing the game using a gamepad. But when the FPS is below 40, noticeable graphical artifacts are produced around the character models, some garbled textures. Some games also exhibit flickering of crosshair. This has nothing to do with the base FPS. AFMF version 2 and 2.1 support full screen mode and borderless display mode. Just make sure VSync is disabled from in-game settings and Adrenaline software. The best part of AFMF is that you can even use it with online games like GTA Online, Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, etc., which is not true in the case of FSR frame generation mods. They come with a risk of getting banned. I'll kick things off with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Just open the game's Adrenaline profile. Open Adrenaline software, click on Gaming section. Look for the game's profile. There it is. First, I'll be running it without frame generation, so I'll disable AFMF 2.1. There's the setting. Off. FreeSync on. Make sure VSync is disabled. Disable Radiant Chill. You can use it to apply a 60 FPS cap. If the game's base FPS exceeds 60, apply a 60 FPS cap on Rog Ally using Radiant Chill. Now when you enable AFMF, FPS will be increased to 120. It will be composed of 60 real frames and 60 interpolated frames. I'll just launch the game. Using a 27 watts manual profile, all three power values set at 27 watts. 900p resolution CPU boost disabled. I've set the UMA buffer size to 6 GB. My Ally is running on BIOS version 341. Connected my 8-bit to Ultimate 2C controller to Ally via 2.4 GHz wireless mode. It's the PC Game Pass version of the game. In-game settings, I am using the medium preset, upscaler set to XeSS using its quality preset, ultra quality preset, resolution scale 66%, display mode set to full screen, run the game at 900p resolution. This will make the game very heavy on the GPU. Post-processing effects disabled, medium preset, set post-process quality to low. That's it. Okay, now I'll enable Adrenaline's overlay. Need to press its hotkey combo, which is Control, Shift and O keys. Just press the hotkey combo and there's the overlay. You can see the metrics here. Frame generation lag value not available as we have not enabled AFMF 2 yet. We are in. There's our character. Big crowd here, perfect for testing the game. You can see animation is looking choppy. We are getting 30 FPS after all, hitting the GPU bottleneck. Not the ideal scenario for enabling AFMF. I'll be using this scenario to test the smoothing effect of AFMF. It's looking a bit choppy. Let's open Adrenaline settings now. Pause the game. Press Alt and R keys together. It's the hotkey combo for opening Adrenaline. There it is. Game's Adrenaline profile popped up. FreeSync is on. VSync is off. Enable AFMF 2.1. Yeah, make sure frame generation status is active. Green tick should show up here. Search mode set to high. This prevents frame generation smoothing effect from getting disabled during fast visual motion. Do not set it to standard, otherwise smoothing effect will get disabled the moment you move the camera around. Used to happen in the case of AFMF version 1. Performance mode set to quality. I really did not observe a big performance difference between quality and performance, so I'll stick with the quality mode. Apply a 60 FPS cap using Radiant Chill. This will disable Radiant anti-lag. Set the idle and peak FPS values to 60. In this game, in the indoor areas, FPS will exceed 60 on Rog Ally when the game is running at 720p resolution. Back to the game. Yeah, look at that added amount of smoothness. This is amazing. AFMF really works very nicely on Rog Ally. FPS increased to around 50. Now it's not a very silky smooth experience, but it's still better than the native 29 FPS that we were getting without AFMF. I'm observing some fuzzy textures around our character model as expected, but the smoothing effect works very nicely. Running around, you can see some fuzzy textures. Okay, I'll just drop the resolution to 720p now. This will help in improving the base game performance, reduce the GPU load. Resolution drop to 720p. Resume the game. Yeah, FPS increased to around 65, and check out that level of smoothness. This is amazing. Now I can say it's silky smooth. See? I can still observe some garbled textures around Sophie's character model when I move the camera in complete circles. But when you move the camera at a normal speed like this, very difficult to observe these garbled textures. Very honest guys, latency is not a problem. You can see the frame generation lag value, it's below 20 milliseconds, 18 milliseconds here. Check out the real world input delay. Beautiful art style. Okay, I am observing a ghosting trail around the flower petals floating in the environment. Just to be clear, it's not due to AFMF present in the game even if you disable AFMF. I'll just quickly show you this. The hotkey combo for toggling AFMF is Alt Shift and G. Press the keys. You'll see a notification here that AFMF 2.1 is enabled or disabled. It's disabled now. Yeah, you can still see the ghosting trail around the flower petals or whatever this is. I think it's some confetti. You get the idea. You can see that the game is running in a choppy manner now. 37 FPS. That smoothing effect was applied by AFMF. Very good results in this game. Now I'll test the next one. Now I'll be running Forza Horizon 5. It's a racing game. I'll be targeting 60 as the base FPS. Adrenaline settings for the game. FreeSync on, VSync off. Can enable anti-lag. AFMF 2.1 disable for the time being. Launch the game. In-game video settings. I'm running the game at native 900p resolution. No FPS cap applied. VSync off. Full screen mode on. Motion blur disable, very important. I have enabled TA anti-aliasing. The reason for not using any upscaler is that it produces noticeable aliasing on the electricity wires. That's it. Graphics. Most of the settings are set to high. Night shadows and motion blur quality. Night shadows set to off. Motion blur quality set to low. SSAO quality off. High. Particles effects quality set to medium. Ray tracing off. Should be getting an FPS within a range of 60 to 70 with these settings. Enable Adrenaline's overlay. Press Ctrl Shift and O keys together. There it is. Yeah, the race is about to start. My vehicle. 11 other racers, and we are getting close to 65 FPS. Game is running so smoothly. Haven't even enabled AFMF 2 yet. This is the ideal scenario for enabling AFMF. Game running at 60 FPS. There shouldn't be any significant graphical artifacts. Latency should not be a problem at all. FPS always stays above 60, so I'll apply a 60 FPS cap via Radiant Chill. We are hitting the GPU bottleneck. I'll enable Adrenaline now. Open Adrenaline settings by pressing Alt and R keys together. Enable AFMF 2.1 from here. Status, it's active. Search mode set to high. Performance mode set to quality. Apply a 60 FPS cap via Radiant Chill. Idle and peak FPS value set to 60. VSync off. In-game VSync off as well. Resume the game. Oh my god, it's running so smoothly. FPS increased to around 110. This is insane. Buttery smooth animation. Okay, not observing any artifacts around our vehicle. You can use FSR frame generation mod in this game. You can nice mod work, but it produces noticeable flickering around the vehicle, car's bumper. Common FSR frame generation related artifact. Doesn't happen in the case of AFMF. Latency is not a problem. Frame generation lag value 14 milliseconds only. See, I'm driving. I'll switch to the cockpit view. Observe the steering wheel. Very responsive. And I move the left stick. Amazing results in Forza. HUD elements are not flickering. No fuzzy textures are produced this time. I'll be testing Baldur's Gate 3, game set Adrenaline setting, FreeSync on, VSync off, anti-lag setting on, AFMF 2.1 disable for the time being, launch. I'll be running the DirectX 11 version of the game. AFMF is even compatible with Vulkan, but DX 11 version of the game is more stable. I'll be testing the game in the lower city area, third act, very heavy on the CPU. Display mode set to full screen, resolution 900p, VSync disable, very important. Using FSR 2.2 upscaler, preset set to quality. No FPS cap applied. I have set shadow quality, texture quality, terrain texture quality and instance distance to medium, remaining settings set to low. Ambient occlusion effect enabled. Depth of field disabled. Bloom, subsurface, scattering, slow HDD mode, dynamic cross disabled. That's it. Enable Adrenaline overlay by pressing the hotkey combo Control Shift and O. There it is. We are in playing as Clair, accompanied by 3 teammates. AI control. Okay, here FPS is close to 45. Yeah, we are not hitting the GPU bottleneck. Lower city area for you. 80% GPU load. This area is very heavy on the CPU. 35 to 45 FPS. Animation is looking a bit jarring as expected. LS VRR range is from 48 to 120. Okay, I'll enable AFMF now. Open Adrenaline settings for the game. Just press Alt and R keys together. FreeSync on, AFMF 2.1 on. Status, yeah, it's active. Search mode set to high. Performance mode set to quality. Apply a 60 FPS cap. In the first 2 acts of the game, FPS will exceed 60 on Ally. Idle FPS and peak FPS value set to 60. VSync off. Resume the game. Oh my god, look at that added amount of smoothness. FPS increased to around 80 to 90. It's variable as the base FPS is very variable. But AFMF 2 is definitely working. It's doing a very good job of improving the performance. Zoomed out view. No significant artifacts are produced around the character model. If the base FPS drops to around 30, some fuzzy textures will be observable around the character model. This is fine. Game's HUD elements are not flickering, as you can see. Frame generation lag value 18 milliseconds. Anything below 20 milliseconds is good. Latency is not a problem. I'll just traverse the area on foot. Head to a more crowded area. Here base FPS dropped to around 35. Yeah, FPS dropped to 70. See? AFMF is trying to double the FPS. It's an enjoyable experience on Rog Ally playing Baldur's Gate 3. I tested the launch version of this game. Performance was really very bad in Act 3. That's not the case now. There's the crowd that I was talking about. They are performing some magical tricks. 60 to 70 FPS. Excellent. Now I'll be testing the next game. Now I'll be running Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Adrenaline settings for the game, FreeSync on, VSync off, AFMF disable for the time being. I'll just enable anti-lag, launch. Graphics settings, resolution set to 720p, display mode full screen. This game is very heavy on the GPU. VSync off, very important. No FPS limit applied. Upscaler set to FSR 3.1 using its quality preset. Sharpness level set to half. Motion blur and depth of field off. Most of the settings are set to medium. Post-process quality set to low. That's it. Enable Adrenaline overlay by pressing Ctrl Shift and O keys together. There's the overlay. I'm in the settlement of Draskowitz. Yeah, here FPS is close to 65. That's really good to see. Accompanied by my dog Mutt. Smooth like butter even without enabling AFMF. Just observe the crosshair. It's not flickering, but it will flicker when I enable AFMF. Open Adrenaline settings. Enable AFMF from here. Status active, there's the green tick. Search mode set to high, performance mode set to quality. Apply a 60 FPS cap using Radiant Chill. Idle FPS and peak FPS value set to 60. VSync off, resync on. Resume the game. Yeah, FPS increased to around 120. This is insane. Look at that added amount of smoothness. Amazing. The HUD elements are not flickering, but the crosshair is flickering. See? Even when the base FPS is close to 60. Good thing is, frame generation smoothing effect does not get disabled during fast visual motion, as you can see. This used to happen in the case of AFMF version 1. Not a problem for AFMF 2. Even the subtitles are not flickering. Great results in this game. Now I'll test the next one. Everyone's favorite GTA 5. This is the enhanced edition. This game does support FSR upscaler, but it does not support FSR frame generation. Does not even support DLSS frame generation. FreeSync on, VSync off, anti-lag setting on, AFMF disabled for the time being. In-game settings. Display mode full screen 900p resolution, refresh rate 120Hz, VSync off, very important. Upscaler set to FSR3 using its quality preset, sharpness level close to 60%. Most of the settings are set to high, isotropic filtering set to 16 times. Just scroll down. Post effects set to normal. Population density, variety, and distance scaling set to 50%. High detail streaming while flying on. That's it. Enable Adrenaline overlay. We're pressing Ctrl Shift and O keys. And there it is. Jump into a story mode. There's Franklin. In the city area, game's performance becomes limited by the single core CPU performance. You can see GPU utilization is close to 83%, not hitting the GPU bottleneck. FPS here is around 80. It's the ideal scenario for enabling AFMF. Drive my vehicle around. Just observe the vehicle's bumper. Wanted to highlight the aggressive coasting. See? I think TAA anti-aliasing produces this coasting. Don't attribute this ghosting to AFMF when I enable it. 70 FPS while driving my vehicle. Let's enable AFMF now. Open Adrenaline settings, Alt and R keys. FreeSync is on. AFMF 2.1 enabled. Status active, green tick. Search mode set to high, performance mode set to quality. VSync off. Apply a 60 FPS cap using Radiant Chill. Idle FPS and peak FPS value set to 60. Go back. Resume the game. Oh my god, look at that added amount of smoothness. FPS increased to around 120. HUD elements are not flickering. Excellent results produced. Drive my vehicle around. GPU utilization, it's still below 90%. Look at that ugly coasting around the vehicle's bumper. It's not due to AFMF. Okay, I'll just engage in combat now. On foot. Not observing any artifacts around Franklin's character model, but sometimes I observe screen tearing like effect when moving the camera in complete circles, as we have disabled VSync. This can happen. Shouldn't be a problem when moving the camera at a normal speed like this. Equip my gun, start killing people. They are running away, trying to gain a wanted level. Should have killed a cop. Yeah, gained a wanted level. Excellent performance, shouldn't be facing any hitching or stuttering. I tested the launch version of the game. It was exhibiting micro stuttering on Rog Ally, but the game has received many updates since its release. It's not exhibiting stuttering now. You can see the 99th FPS value. It's close to 100. No cop arrived. So excellent results produced by AFMF 2.1 on Rog Ally. It improved the performance of all of the games that I tested. Latency was manageable even at a low base FPS value of 40, but it did produce some minor graphical artifacts. In some games you will observe flickering of the crosshair, like what we saw in the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. even when the base FPS was close to 60. In some games, you will observe some garbled textures around the character model. This can be reduced by increasing the base FPS value. On Ally, I would recommend targeting a base FPS range of 40 to 45 when using AFMF. 60 would be ideal. High FPS range will help in keeping the latency and graphical artifacts in check. The best part of AFMF is you can even use it with online games. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.